Welcome back to this week's TV episode 9. Thanks for joining Trevor and I once again this week. We would like to kick it off with a Did You Know? Trevor, what do you have for us?
So Vince was actually so impressed with last week's that I get to go again. So this one's pretty wild, I will say. I was watching a video last night, and it was about kind of the world after COVID, and it mentioned that 2 million plus citizens of Italy bought something online for the first time ever during COVID. And that seemed a little crazy to me. So I looked it up, and JP Morgan actually does show that 64% of residents of Italy have never purchased anything online before in their life, which boggles my mind.
That's pretty incredible. It's like their own digital transformation, except it's a shopping experience for an entire country.
Oh yeah, massive. So if you read the whole report, there's a lot of cultural factors that play into that. But as far as just translating that to what we're so used to in the e-commerce world here, blew my mind.
So for this week's Did You Know? Historically, citizens of Italy, not huge online shoppers. So I didn't know that. And if you did, then please let us know, because that's pretty outstanding. So moving into this week's topic, we wanted to highlight communication and why that's so imperative, especially where Trevor and I sit in our industry. But I wanted to kick it off with just we've talked a lot about how fast the candidate market's currently moving, how competitive it is.
Crazy.
So having communication be, a focal point of our interactions with hiring managers is just super imperative to make sure that, if it's a qualified candidate and, this organization really likes that person, that they are moving quickly enough to bring that person aboard. So, that really starts with, initially for us, screening the candidates, all of that aside. But once we actually present a candidate and, an organization commits to wanting to interview them and then getting into that interview process, for us, receiving that feedback, in a timely manner, obviously making sure that feedback and the assessment of that candidate is obviously super imperative. You want to make sure that that's thorough, but at the same time, you really want to make sure that you're moving through that process, pretty steadily, and also giving us feedback so that we know if we're on the right track, with the people that we're placing, as well as being able to communicate that with our candidates about what's going on.
Completely agree. And I think that's just a natural segue to thinking about how the candidate is enjoying or just moving through that whole interview process. Say you and the hiring manager are talking, say internally, they're working to move them through the interview process. The candidate doesn't know those updates unless they're communicated to them. So even though you and they know that things are moving along great, they're super excited, the candidate has gotten no update. So if they haven't gotten an update, even if they adored that interview, with as many people that are reaching out right now, they're going to start interviewing elsewhere. They're going to start looking at other offers that have been presented.
Absolutely. So, in a nutshell, it's making sure that communication's consistent on, the client and the candidate side, so that if that is the right match, you're not losing that candidate to competition just based off of, you didn't make a decision, quick enough. So, it's something that really it hasn't been, really much at the forefront of hiring managers' minds up until recently. So it's something that we've certainly seen as a trend, and something that we really want to stress as something very important. So that's big on the communication for that end. Communication, kind of looping it back to sales, and what Trevor and I do is obviously just making sure that, if in our interactions with hiring managers, with clients, even outside of an interview capacity, that, you're responding to things in a timely manner. Whether it's an email, a scheduled phone call, updates on where a candidate search might be if there's no tangible results yet. Making sure that you're keeping your client updated in a timely manner is super critical.
Yeah, very critical. And especially in this some remote landscape, to me, it's very important that you just respond with kind of a status update. If you email me and ask me, hey, can you do this? That may take me 5 days to get done, and I may be working diligently on it. but you haven't received a response from me. You don't know everything that I'm doing on my end. So to you, you're like, oh, wow, did he even get the email? Does he care? Does he not want to help me out with this? So it's so simple to just shoot back up. Hey, Vince, on it. Boom. And that
Couldn't
goes
agree more.
on.
Absolutely. So, we've stressed communication, why that's super important for a lot of different angles. Communication is key. One of the other things that Trevor and I would like to discuss and move into next week is a trend that we've really been seeing, and that is the revitalization of a standard interview process. And what we've seen as some very successful interview trends from organizations that we've worked with, or interview processes that we've heard about, as well as some things that organizations might want to stay away from. So episode 10 coming at you next week.
Big one.